My next guest is J. Christian Adams. He's the president of the Public Interest Legal Foundation. Welcome back to the program, sir.
Thank you, Andrew.
All right, so talk to me about this new interactive voter roll database or error database.
Yeah, right. I'm having trouble, though, reconciling that she's the vice president right now.
That's why Joe Biden's pretty safe right now.
Right. So, no, what we've done at the Public Interest Legal Foundation over the last 6-7 years is we've collected all the voter rolls in the country. When I was appointed by President Trump to be on the Election Integrity Commission, this is what we were going to do as a federal agency, but the left sued us out of existence. So we just did it ourselves, and we can see who's registered in more than one state at once, who's voting in more than one state, who's dead. And we use this interactive database to keep the rolls as clean as we can.
Why are we so biased and prejudiced against the living impaired?
Well, there's a lot of reasons. One of which is a lot of state election officials don't like to remove anybody from the rolls. We're currently suing Michigan State. Jocelyn Benson's the Secretary of State. And in that particular state, Andrew, they have people who are on the active voter rolls since they died in 1990, 1997, 1998. They just don't want to remove people from the rolls there, and that's why we're taking them to federal court.
If you put two things together, voter rolls that have dead people or people that moved out of state and they haven't cleaned them up, with judges that will rule in cases where they say, well, a ballot doesn't need to have a signature or a security envelope or a witness for an assisted living facility or any of these things, when they say we have to count all the ballots, does that mean they're tied to a living, breathing, legally registered voter?
Well, that's why you have things like signature requirements and voter ID.
Not in some states. If the judges say so, they did it during COVID.
Exactly. Virginia was one. We intervened in that case to defend the law in Virginia, and the former Attorney General of Virginia raised the white flag in a collusive settlement to get rid of election integrity laws. You know, Nevada mails ballots to everybody on the roll, which is a joke because we did a film where we went where people were voting, and it was like vacant mines, casinos, head shops, liquor stores, vacant lots. These are some of the worst ways to run an election, and that's why knowing how bad the voter rolls are help you decide what to do about fixing it.
Why should any state, and I mean, I know why, it's a rhetorical question, why are we sending out ballots to people who don't request them?
It's spreading, Andrew. This is the big new movement. Pay attention because it's coming to a state near you, even if it's blue. The point is that this is what they think is good. The left is like, hey, you're on the voter roll. Let's mail you a ballot. It'll make it easier for you to vote because you don't have to ask for it. This is the law in Nevada. This is the law in California.
All right, let me, I don't want to interrupt. Let's just say that becomes the thing, right? We're going to send out ballots to everyone who's on the voter roll. But shouldn't that ballot come back properly completed with a signature, perhaps with an ID number underneath it, social security, driver's license number, voter ID number, be put in the secure envelope? I mean, if that's going to be the case, how could anyone say we have election integrity by sending out live ballots to people who don't even request them? They just go out, and we're not actually going to make sure that they're filled out properly to ensure that the ballot that went out was returned by the person who was registered to vote in the first place.
Yeah, this is what they did in New Jersey, the madness you just described. And they had people snatching ballots out of mailboxes so bad, Andrew, they were voting ballots for other people that they had to redo the election in Paterson, New Jersey. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is not misinformation. This is a fact that they had to redo the election because of fraud, because of the automatic mail out of ballots and people voting them who weren't the voters.
You know, when Stacey Abrams said New Jersey was the model, I thought that was laughable because New Jersey doesn't have the number of early voting days that Georgia had, or has. I mean, I know she won the election. We don't have third-party drop boxes. When I went to go drop my ballot off, I had to go to an ironclad mailbox-looking thing at the police department with more than one security camera on it. There was none of this, hey, there's a public interest group with a drop box that won't have a chain of custody report, but the ballots will show up at 3 o'clock in the morning and be counted.
Yeah, New Jersey also has a neighbor in Delaware that doesn't even have early voting at all. And so, Stacey Abrams, she's made her millions based on dishonesty. So that's my opinion. And so, that's who she is. She criticizes rules that 99% of Americans agree with.
They call it the independent state legislature theory. It's not a theory. The Constitution places the original power to determine the rules for elections in state legislative bodies. But what we've seen is state judicial branches chip away at that.
Yeah, particularly North Carolina. And that's why the challenge in the Supreme Court is coming from North Carolina by legislators saying, hey, look, the Constitution says legislators. It doesn't say elected Democrats on the North Carolina Supreme Court. And so legislatures, because they're the closest to the people, don't forget that, Andrew. My state legislator would return my call today if I called them. I don't even know who it is, but if I called them, they'd call me back. That's not true with judges or U.S. senators or congressmen in Washington. State legislators are the ultimate protectors of liberty, and that's how the founders designed it, and that's why they put it in the Constitution.
Are we gearing up for another 2020 and 2024?
Well, it's better in a lot of states. It's better in Florida. It's better in Texas, Arizona, believe it or not. It's better in a lot of states. Where it's not better is the places it matters, like Wisconsin, like Michigan, where we're still litigating in federal court. For years, we've been telling them about the dead voters. It's not better in Pennsylvania.
I was just going to ask that one, because that's where we saw the state Supreme Court illegally change election law.
That's right. Repeatedly. I mean, they've done it. Going back almost 10 years now with Pennsylvania voter ID, they cooked up some state protection that didn't really exist to strike down Pennsylvania voter ID. Even though the plaintiffs, it's really funny, the lady who said she couldn't get voter ID lost at the lowest court. And right after she lost, she ran across the street and got her voter ID. So it was a total joke where they said they couldn't get it, but yet they could. So, yeah, the Pennsylvania Supreme Court is one of the worst.
Yeah, and I'm old enough to remember when Sonny Perdue signed a law in Georgia. You can't afford a voter ID. The state will give you one for free, and they still objected. It's not the cost of the ID or the inconvenience of getting it, like you said. They don't want it shown at all. I got to leave it there. Thanks for joining us.
Anytime, Andrew. Take care.
Coming up next,